Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to look at Character Creator 3 and how to use these meshes with Unreal Engine 4. Now, this program will give you a near infinite number of very high quality, realistic looking characters for your game or your project. It also comes with this auto setup tool for Unreal, which makes it really easy to create materials and bring your characters to the engine. But today we're going to look at a different workflow, which involves Character Creator 3, Blender, and Unreal. We're going to use Uefy 2 to give this character a Rigify rig in Blender, and this is just going to let us customize this armature any way we want to. For example, if I wanted to separate this shoulder pad into its own rig part, I can do that. Or I can add armor bones or weapon bones to this character very easily just by extending the meta rig for Rigify. We can also create new animations in Blender and take them to Unreal. These are the options used to export the character. First, you have to select Unreal from the tool presets. Then you can add two motions to include motion. These are already available with Character Creator 3, so you just have to add them here. And then we select the gear icon to expand FBX export advanced settings, and then deselect Unreal Engine 4 bone axis. Now these is not the only way to do things, but these settings give me the most consistent result with this workflow. I'm going to select everything in the scene, clear it, go to scene properties and set the unit scale to 0.01 so Unreal Engine doesn't have problems later. And then I can set the view clipping distance to 50 meters. Now I can do file, import, FBX, and bring the character into the scene. So I'm going to make sure that animation is selected, and in armature, I'm just going to leave this as it is, then import FBX. Now, just for reference, I also want to bring in the Unreal Engine mannequin. So I can create a new scene collection, select it, do file, import, FBX, select the mannequin. And for this one, I want to make sure that animation is not selected. And in armature, we have to select automatic bone orientation. Do import FBX, and then I can select this large bone, do GY1 to move it back by one grid line. Okay, so let's examine this character. First of all, I'm going to put away the mannequin, and then I can select the armature for this character, go to the armature section, and then in viewport display, let's put it in front. This character is already in the correct pose for the Unreal Engine mannequin, and you can use this if you want to. There's nothing wrong with it, but I'm going to make a few changes to the armature and rework this pose because it gives me a slightly better result with Rigify and with the mannequin that I rigged in Blender previously. There'll be a link to that tutorial in the description and in the corner above. I'm going to go into the animation workspace here. I select the dope sheet from this dropdown, and from within the dope sheet, I'm going to select the action editor. And from this dropdown, I'm going to select armature T-pose. And then if you go back to layout, you'll find that the character is now in a T-pose, and this is what we're going to work with. This character has a lot of extra bones that are not in the Unreal Engine mannequin that we will need to account for in our meta rig, but it also has a bunch of shape keys for the face. Blender doesn't allow applying armature objects to meshes with shape keys, so we would typically have to delete these, but I want to retain them. So we're going to do things a little differently than we have done in the past, so we don't have to delete these shape keys and we can take them to Unreal Engine. So I'm just going to expand this armature object, and I'm also going to rename this because we need this name later on for our export character. So I'm just going to rename this to be something else so we don't have a collision later on. And also for all of these meshes, I don't want to work with so many meshes, so I'm just going to collapse them into one. You can keep them separate. You'll just have to repeat some of these steps for each of these mesh objects if you do. So I'm just going to join them together with Control J. So now I have only one mesh object. Now I'm going to do Shift D to duplicate this mesh and then right click to release it. So we have two of the same mesh, and in the second one, I'm going to go down to the shape keys panel, open this drop down, and then delete all shape keys. So we have two meshes, one with shape keys and then one without. And I can just create a new scene collection. I can select the second mesh that has where I deleted all the shape keys. Then I can go down here to the Uefy extra tools, to the mesh extract tool. I'm going to deselect extract all. Extract all means that this tool will be run on every single mesh, and this tool doesn't work with meshes that have shape keys. So we just want it to work with this mesh where we deleted the shape keys and then just do extract mesh, and now it is a standalone object. on its own, and I can drag this to this new scene collection. Now I'm going to select the armature, do Shift D to duplicate this, and right click to release it. And I'm going to take the duplicate to the other collection as well. And we can close this for the time being. Now for the mesh, I'm just going to go to this item panel here, and I'm going to make sure that the location is 0, rotation is 0, and scale is 111. And if it is not, we can do Control A and apply all transforms. The same thing for the armature. Make sure that this is 0, 0, and 1 for all of these values. If it's not, again, Control A, apply all transforms. Now for the armature, additionally, you want to make sure that in edit mode and pose mode, this armature should not change its pose. And if it does, that means that the rest pose is not properly updated. So first we have to do that. Go into pose mode, do Control A, and apply pose as rest pose. Now it says actions on this armature will be destroyed. Okay, that means that this armature has an animation attached. So just open this, open the animation panel, right click on this, and then unlink it. Now we can again select everything. We're still in pose mode, do Control A, apply pose as rest pose. So this should have updated the rest pose. If you go back to edit mode and then back to pose mode or object mode, you'll see that there is no change. So that's good. We can go back to object mode, select the mesh, then shift select the armature, do Control P, and then armature deform. And we can also go to pose mode, select one of these bones, and then make sure that it is actually working. So what we've done here is we've taken the character, deleted the shape keys from the body mesh, and then reattached it. So now we have a character that we can work with that does not have any shape keys at all. And once we are done rigging it, we can bring them back. Now I want to update the pose on this character. So in order to do that, we need to update the names on the armature. So I'm just going to select the armature here, go up here, enable names so we can see. And further down here, I'm going to click on refresh list and make sure that this value is accurate. Remember, we duplicated the armature. So make sure that this is the name that we select here, which is the name of this armature that we're working on. Further down here, I'm going to open this drop down. It's going to be empty. But if we click on this button here, it'll load a few presets. And then from here, I can select Character Creator 3 and click on Apply, which is going to update all of the names that we need to pose this character. So it's not going to be every bone, just those names that we need. There will be links in the description and in the corner on how to create your own presets. But for right now, I'm just going to go up here and turn off names and turn on axes. For posing to work, the rolls on some of these bones must match the Unreal Engine mannequin. So we're going to go further down here and then click on magic rolls, which is going to try and guess what those values should be. For a T-pose like this, it is almost always going to get it correctly. But if you want to check the description and the link in the corner again, there are further details on how to manually adjust these bones if you need to. Now I want to make a few changes to the bones in this armature. So I'm just going to go into orthographic view, select the hand, and then zoom in over there from the top view. In the mannequin, this bone is positioned more like so between these two fingers. And from the front view, it's also positioned a bit more like that. So I just do this to kind of improve the retarget that I get later on. And then I will right click on this, symmetrize, and fix the other side. Now from the front view, I will go down here and hide this large bone. Now I don't really use the toe bones, so I'm just going to hide those. And this large bone is also not in the mannequin, so it's something exclusive to the character creator. So I'm just going to hide this, and then hide these two as well. Now I will select the toe bone that's actually in the mannequin, and I'm going to just increase its length so it's more like that. And then I will select this part and the entire bone like that. And then from the front view, I can just drag this like so, just center it out a little, and then I can also grab this part and then just center it out like that. And you can spend some more time on it if you want to. Now, again, we don't want any skew on the bones, so just make sure to use the roll and position them correctly, and then you can select these two bones, right click on them, and symmetrize to fix the other side. Now one last change that I want to make is to the fingers. So I'm just going to go to the front view, and then to get a better view, I'm just going to hide most of the skeleton like so. And then I can zoom in over here towards the hand, and I will also hide the thumb bone and this one as well. Now, if we look at it from the side view, I'm just going to select this, look at it from the front view or the side for this finger. I'm just going to roll this bone so it's more like that, because this finger is it has a slight skew to it. So I'm just going to bend it a bit like that, and I will select this one, that one, shift and active bone, and it'll recalculate the bones on the front finger. So again, back to the side, I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just make it point inward just a little bit, just a tiny little bit, but it has an impact. So I'm going to select this one, that one, shift and active bone. So it's a small change, but I think it makes a difference in my rig. So go back here. Well, we also want to unhide everything. So Alt-H to unhide everything. So we made changes to these bones. I'm just going to select these ones and then these ones, and then right click and symmetrize, and it'll fix the other side. So that's pretty much all the changes that I want to make. Now I can go back to object mode, and then I will bring back the mannequin, and I will go over here, make sure that these values are correct, and then we can click on pose character, and this is going to pose the limbs for our character, and we don't need the mannequin anymore. Now I'm just going to zoom in over here and improve the pose a little bit. So I can go down here, select this bone, hide it, and we'll be in pose mode for this, and then box select these two, rotate and straighten them out like that. Maybe just a little less, so just update this like so. And then Control C, Shift Control V, so they're both the same. And then from the front, I could do something like that, rotate this into position like so. And then again, Control C, Shift Control V to fix the other side. Go to the side view, select everything with A, G to grab, Z to lock axis, and then bring everything down. Now, right now, my concern is that it's with the mesh only. Okay, so I don't really care if the bones are pointing towards the side right now. I just want this mesh to look like it is in the mannequin. So if I hide this and bring back the mannequin, you see how this foot is oriented and placed. So I want it to be as close as possible in my own character, and this just results in better retargeting later down the line. One additional change we can make is to the fingers. The fingers in the mannequin are a little crooked, but Rigify works better if these bones are a bit more straight. So this step is kind of optional, but you can select these lower parts like so, and then just do Alt-R to remove the rotation, Control-C to copy, and then Shift-Control-V to fix the other side. Now if we look over here in edit mode, you'll see that the rest pose is still like so, but we want it to be like that. So I'm going to go into object mode. I'm going to select the mesh. If you have multiple meshes, just pick any one. Go over here to the Uefy script panel and further down to the Uefy extra tools and update rest pose, and that should just fix it. So if we select this and then go back to edit mode, you'll see that there is no change anymore. Now I can create a scene collection and then do Shift A, armature, Uefy script, presets, CC3 meta rig. Also go up here and then bring it to the front. S to scale, and then just get a rough match on the shoulders for the meta rig. Then we can do Control A, apply all transforms, and that'll make sure that the scale for the meta rig is 111. This is necessary. Then we can go over here, click on refresh list. So make sure that this value is accurate. This will be the name of the meta rig. And then further down here, we can do pose meta rig. And this is going to match the limbs of our meta rig. Now I can go to the front view with the one key. I can select the characters armature and then control click on the meta rig. So I have both of these objects selected, and then I can go into edit mode and we can box select. Well, let's just unselect everything and then box select this side and then hide this, and then box select this side and then hide that, and we can now fix the spine. Now we can go into wireframe mode like so, and then I'm going to select one of the bones in the meta rig, and I'll make sure that it is the meta rig by checking over here, and with the mouse cursor over this bone I can press the L key to select the entire meta rig, and then I can use the G key to move it, and I'm going to match the base of the meta rig with that of the character's pelvis. Then I can use the B key and then middle mouse click over this bone to deselect it, and then I can again use the G key to match the next pivot point, like so, over there. And then again, box unselect this, and then again use the G key to match the next pivot point, like that. And then I'm just going to select this bone and then match the pivot point over there as well. Continuing on, I can move this part to be over there as well. And then I'm going to make sure, again, this is the meta rig, so we're not moving the actual characters armature. And you can also turn this off to have a better view, and you can see that this is what we're trying to move. So let's just box select all of this, right? And then we can bring back the rest of the bones, the original ones, and then I can use the G key to move them into place. I'm just going to match the bottom of the neck like that, and then I can deselect this bone, move the rest of it again to match the next pivot point for the second neck bone, and then I can deselect this and then match the head bone and the face bone, like so. Now I can zoom in a little bit over here. I'm going to select this large bone, and you can see that this is the face bone in the original character's armature. But this is already accounted for by this bone in the new meta rig. So I'm just going to hide this, and I'm also going to hide the meta rig's head and face bones because they are already in the correct position. So this just gives us a better view. Now this bone is the jaw root in the original character's armature, and this is the one in our new meta rig. So I'm just going to move this into position like so. So we just need to match the pivot point. That's the start of the bone, the base of the bone. And this bone is teeth 2. So teeth 2 is this one. So I'm just going to match the pivot point just like that. And this one is teeth 1. And I'm going to match it with that like so. And this one is the upper jaw, which I will match with this one like that. Now, since we have positioned these bones, I can just hide them. All right. So these 3 bones, which are pointing downwards, they represent the tongue. And these 3 bones are the tongue in the meta rig. So I'm just going to select this one, press L to select the entire thing. Then I can use G to match the pivot point over there, like that. And then zoom in a little bit here. Deselect this one. G to grab, match the next pivot point, box select, deselect that one, and just going to select this one, and then G to grab and match the pivot point like so. These 2 large bones are the eyes in the original character's armature. So I'm just going to select this part to do Shift S, cursor to select it, and then I can select this bone, Shift S, selection to cursor. So this is the eye in the meta rig, and similarly for the other sides, Shift S, cursor to select it, select this bone, Shift S, selection to cursor. So that is going to move the eyes into position. And also for all of these center bones, just make sure you're working with a meta rig bone here. You want to make sure for all of these bones, the head and tail x-axis is actually 0. So if you're moving them about, copying them around, sometimes there are rounding errors, which will cause a problem. So just make sure the x-axis for all of these bones is actually 0. Now I'm just going to unhide everything, and there are a couple of extra bones that we need to account for. So there are some chest bones here that we need to move into place. So these are in the original armature, and these are in the meta rig. So I'm just going to select the ones that are in the meta rig. I can go to the front view and then move them into position like so. And then from the side view, I can also move them into position like that. And then I can right click on them and do symmetrize, and that'll fix the other side. I'm going to hide the original armature bones for a minute, and then there are some bones here that we need to move into position. So this is the elbow joint for the meta rig. So I'm just going to do Shift S, cursor to select it, and move this elbow bone into position like that. And then I'm also going to first have this selected, and then shift click on this bone, and then do Shift N active bone to get a more accurate roll on it. Then I can click this bone again to have just this selected, right click, symmetrize, and it'll fix the other side. And we also need to fix the knee bone in the same manner. So I'm going to select this, Shift S, cursor to selected, move this into position like that. And then while this is selected, I will select this bone, Shift N, active bone, and this will update the role. And then I can select this again, right click, symmetrize, and it'll fix the other side. And the last thing that we need to do is make sure that this is positioned correctly. So G to grab, X to lock axis, and then just move it into position like so. And you can move these parts back and forth to match the size of your actual foot if you need to. With the whole bone selected, I can right click and symmetrize it. That'll fix the other side. And one last thing that we can do also is to straighten out the spine a little. Rigify works best with a straight spine, so you might want to make a few adjustments, minor changes, and straighten. Now we can go to solid mode, and I'll deselect everything and go into object mode. Shift S cursor to world origin, then I can create a new scene collection. I will select the mesh here, and then from Uefy extra tools, I can select extract all and extract this mesh. This would make all of our meshes standalone objects, not connected to anything. And then I can grab this mesh or all of them and move them into the new scene collection. Then we can close this and we don't need this anymore. Now I'm going to select the collection and then the meta rig. And from over here, I can do generate rig, and that'll make me a new rig. Then I could go further up here and put it in front. At this point, I can hide the meta rig, select the mesh, shift click on the final rig, do Control P and simple armature deform. Then I can select the rig, go down here and make sure we click on refresh list so this value is accurate. Then going further down here, I'm going to make sure that the twist value over here is set to full. This is going to make 2 twist bones per limb part. So for example, there will be 1 bone here, 1 bone here, and another 2 bones in the lower part of the arm. Same for the legs. So this is what full twist done, and then I'll just do build skeleton and give this a minute. Now if we move this character around, you can see that it is working for the most part, except for those bones that we added onto the meta rig that are not in the Unreal Engine mannequin. And to understand how to get those to work, well, we can go up here and enable this layer just to have a look at these bones. And if I just zoom in over here, you can see that all of these extra bones that I've added, they have a prefix added to them. To get around this, we can go to the Uefy extra tools with the skinning rename tool. This has 2 parts. The top one can be used to rename the bones in the export chain to match whatever they were called in the original characters armature. So they have the same names as the original vertex groups. Or you can use the second part here to update the mesh vertex groups to match the existing bone name. So I'm going to click on this little button here to get some presets. Then I will select this and click on apply vertex groups. If we zoom out here, you'll see that the entire character is now working, including all of these extra bones. So for example, if I click over here, you can see that the facial rig is also working. Now this character is basically ready for animation, except that the toes are not accounted for. So if I move this character like so, you'll see the toes are not moving. That's because in the meta rig that I configured for this character that come with the add-on, I didn't add any toe bones to the meta rig because that's not a use case that's used very often in games. When we export characters from Character Creator 3, we can choose to delete all the mesh parts that are hidden by clothing. So that is one way to deal with this. Another thing we can do is just bring back the meta rig, add some toe bones to it, and then use the skinning rename tool to scan the vertex groups and rename them. This works exactly the same way as the renamer for the bones does. So it will be in Uefy VGS instead of Uefy mapping. So you can open this file or do a scan and it'll give you a custom file, and you can just rename the vertex scripts to match the export bones. Or the last thing that we can do is just paint the toes to this ball bone here, because I don't really want toes in this character because this is not going to be used very often. Now I'm going to hide the meta rig and also turn off this layer because we don't need it anymore. And then we could go to object mode, select the mesh, and then go into edit mode. Now I'm going to deselect everything, go to wireframe mode, and then scroll up here to the vertex scripts. I'm just going to expand this and find the vertex scripts for the toes. So they're right over here. So I'm just going to select this top one and then do select to highlight the vertices that are in this vertex group. And then I'm just going to remove these vertices from that group. So then I'll select the next one, then remove all of these vertices from this group. And similarly, I'll just keep repeating them. So all of these vertices will be removed from all of these groups and they will just be empty. Then I could go down here, find the vertex group for the new bone that is in the export chain. So it's called ball over there. And then I will assign with full weight all of these vertices to this group, like so. Now we can do the same thing for the other side. So I'm just going to deselect everything, find the toe vertex groups for the right side. So those will be someplace around here. There they are. So I can do the same thing again. Select, remove for all of these, like so. So this is just deleting the weight paint data for all of the old bones from these vertices, vertex groups. Remove them like that, and then paint the entire thing to the new bone with full weight over here, like so. And of course, you can also use Blender's weight paint tools to fine-tune anything that you want to. Deselect everything, go to object mode, select the rig, and then go to pose mode. And now if we try to move this character, you'll see that everything is working exactly like it should be. The only thing left to do is bring back those shape keys for the face. Going back to object mode, we can now bring back the original imported character with its original armature. So if you open this, you'll find that this is the one that has the mesh with the shape keys. So if I just make this small again, you can see that this mesh has shape keys attached to it. So we will select this mesh first and then shift click our character's mesh that we have right now. And then we can go down to the Uefy extra tools, and there will be a shape key transfer tool here. So I'm just going to click this once, and I'm just going to give this a minute. This is a slow process, might take a few minutes. So just make sure that the mesh with the shape keys is selected first, and then the target mesh is selected second, and then click on this button, give it a few minutes, and it'll be done. When we come back, we can just hide this original armature. We don't need it anymore. And if we click on the mesh and look up here, you'll see that it has all of the shape keys that were on the original that are now on this one. And if we click on this little button here, this is going to enable us to verify that the shape keys are actually working. It applies the full weight whenever you click on a shape key. So you can just use this to test if they are actually working. The shape key transfer is only going to work for the face. If you look at the original mesh, you'll see that the face is pretty much in the same location. Well, it's a little offset, but it's not deformed in any way relative to what the face is in our deformed mesh in the final pose. But if, for example, you wanted to transfer shape keys that were on the hand in the original to this new character that has a deformed hand in a different location, then that's not going to work. But luckily for us, since all of the shape keys for Character Creator 3 are in the face anyway, and we don't really change the face much, so we can easily transfer them, but this is not going to work for other shape keys. To export this character, I will select the mesh, shift click on the armature, do File, Export, FBX. Then I will select the name of the export file, Selected Objects Only, and in armature, I want only the deformed bones. We don't want to add any leaf bones, and we're not dealing with animation right now. So just export FBX. In Unreal, I will do import, select the file, open, and then expand this panel here, and I'll make sure that import morph targets is enabled, and I can just leave the rest of it as it is with skeleton none, and then do import, and then just give it a minute. Once it has done loading, we can open the character, go to the skeleton tab, and make sure that this hierarchy is actually correct. When you create a new skeleton, you also need to update retargeting options. So set these to be recursively to be skeleton, and then set the root to be animation and the pelvis to be animation scaled. And you can also update the IK bones to be animation. And this usually works out best, but you can choose your own values here. And you also want to click on applied asset, or this will not show up in the retargeting menus. Then you want to click on retarget manager and make sure to select the humanoid rig over here, and then We don't need to set any of these values because Uefy will have it so they're already correct. So we can just close this and then we can save this value. In this project, I have also imported this same character directly from Character Creator 3 using the Unreal Engine 4 presets in the CC3 export options using the Character Creator auto setup tool for Unreal Engine, which gives me this character directly from UE4. And when I import it, it creates a whole bunch of these materials automatically. So what I can do now is with my Blender based character, I can just open this, go to the mesh part. And if I open these drop downs, you'll see that underneath this current material, there will be the same material based on an instance. So I can just select this. This was created by the auto setup tool. So basically, I can use these pre-built materials with my own Blender-based character. So I can just update all of these. Once I've updated all of them, you'll see that some of the messages regarding materials needing morph targets have also disappeared. So if we just zoom in on the face a little bit here, we can also confirm that the shape keys or morph targets that we got out of Blender are also working. So I can just, let's just select this one and you can see that the face actually changes when I move these sliders. So the morph targets and shape keys are working too. I will normally just have a separate project just for import, so I can import both directly from CC and also from Blender, so I can use the auto setup tool to create the materials, and then I can just migrate this whole thing to whatever my actual project is, and that just works for me. If you want to import the character onto the mannequin skeleton, just make sure that you haven't previously imported a character directly from CC3 because some of these bone names in our Blender-based character are actually different, for example, in the face. And also, if you want to import the character on the original Unreal Engine mannequin skeleton, the same thing applies. First, you will have to go to Blender and use this tool from the export panel to match the Unreal Engine mannequin bone rolls. And you can check how to do that in the other videos that I've made previously in this series. But the same rule applies. You cannot import this character onto a mannequin skeleton that has imports from CC directly because again, it'll cause some conflicts. And you can check my video on the easy rigging for the mannequin skeleton and how to use this process to share animations. There'll be links in the description and in the corner. And that's all for this time. Thank you for watching.